Thanks, Bob. I appreciate you doing this, Bob. This is a wonderful night. I'm learning a lot. The picture behind you is MRH High School. In 1998, my wife worked there. I was a teacher at Kirkwood High. I was a basketball coach. We drove to MRH to play a basketball game, came out, our bus tires were slashed, all our stuff was stolen. I went home, I told my wife, I'm never working at that school. And I was mad, I meant it. Now, 15 years later, I'm the principal of the school. Imagine how that happened. People ask, well, what's your school like? And they want to see statistics. So here's some basic demographics. I don't know what interests you, but we're 49% African American, 47% white. There's not another school in St. Louis like that. There just isn't. I've had principals ask me, what'd you do, a campaign and bus kids in? No, they just live here and walk to school. There's nothing to it. This is our community, and it's a great community to be in. I'm very fortunate to be involved with this. So some of my themes about sustainability, and we're going to kind of look at it a little bit differently. We'll start with the economic justice side, and Chris kind of touched on some of that stuff. What are we doing to meet the economic justice, sustainable needs of our kids? Got a list of them here. You start simple with free breakfast every morning. You feed them. And you feed them not junk. You don't give them, we don't have any soda machines or any of the candy machines. We have water machine. And the food we have is healthy. And believe me, I hear a lot of complaints. Mr. Brower, this stuff, there's no fries, there's no hot wings, there's no, there's not. Why is it? Well, because we say, we love you. That means we have a genuine interest in your well-being. Counselors on staff, provided by Youth in Need, free family counseling, access to technology for all, which Chris just hit on. And the last point is a point I think a lot of schools forget. It's creating an aesthetically pleasing learning environment that people actually want to be in. Talk about Joe's Place. Some of you might be familiar with this. We're the only districts in the nation that has a homeless house that we purchase for our students, male students. We currently have 4 guys living there. And it's run by a middle school teacher and his wife and kids, who in my mind are just saints for doing that. But these guys, we've had about 12 guys go through, they've all graduated. And the statistics show that guys that come from this background, even in our own district, typically about 30% of them graduate. So we're doing a pretty good thing there. We also believe in teacher training and cultural responsiveness. And that's kind of a hard thing to define, but what it does is try to teach empathy for the people in your classroom sitting in front of you. We role play, we do case studies. It's an amazing thing. Probably the most powerful training I've ever done in my life was our cultural responsiveness training. It was humbling. And I always talk to teachers about this. You must be more resilient than your students. For one, they're kids, and you're an adult. I love Rick Wormley's statement. Your will for students to succeed must be much greater than their indifference or will to fail. Tenacity was talked about a lot tonight. I want to reiterate that. Here's a picture of my son jumping into the pool. We always ask staff, you're an energy giver, an energy taker. You must fully submerge yourself into the learning experience here. And I don't say this with pride, but my first year, we had 8 teachers that didn't make it because I didn't feel they were on board with this. And to me, that might be more important than your actual teaching ability. I think I can teach them to get better at teaching. But this is something that comes from here. And that's hard to teach. Technology to even the playing field. I've taken that from Chris McGee's presentation. But when you give everybody an even feel for that, I believe your achievement will grow. And I think ours has, and I'm going to show you how it has in a minute. Here is one sample. 3 years ago, we were at a 17 average in the ACT, which, is not that great. It's below the state average. 3 years later, we're at a 20. Now, the average school grows about 0.2 points a year. We've gone 3 in 3 years. That's almost unheard of. And I think technology has played a role in that. There's other things, but it has played a role. This is a bunch of scores in the EOC test, which is our state exam. You'll notice that we've gone up in every one of them in the last 4 years. And again, a lot of things go into this. There's teaching ability. There's culture and climate. There is technology. There's looking at data, analyzing it differently. But it keeps going up. Economic social justice also means knowing where your people come from. We actually do home visits. These are actual shots of homes in the neighborhood around here. We go in the home. Every summer I sit down with the assistant principals and I say, all right, who are our most struggling learners? Who's in trouble? Who's struggling? We're going to their house. And sometimes they don't want me in their house. I go to their house anyway. Or they say, let's meet somewhere else. That's fine. But when you sit down with somebody and you drink lemonade from their glass, sit in their couch, and you talk to them, it gives you leverage. And Dr. Dillon taught me this. When you have leverage with somebody, you build a relationship of trust. And all of a sudden, that phone call I make, that's a hard phone call, is much more believable for them. Oh yeah, Mr. Grawer, I know you were sitting in my, yeah, I'm sure he did do that. Well, let's work on how we can improve. We also realize that it is more challenging to teach kids in poverty. That's a fact. And that literacy, reading, writing, speaking, and listening are the backbone of any educated person in any part of the world. And it's our responsibility as adults to ask and find out how and why. And the expectations are high. I often ask staff, well, what's your excuse? I ask students the same question. I ask myself the same question. School as apprenticeship is our motto. What does it mean? It means exposing people to real world experiences. When I was in high school, I didn't get into this stuff. I just thought, well, I'll do this. Having no clue the steps it took to get there. We have a guy that works, that's all he does is try to find, okay, what's your interest? Well, let me go take you there and show you what it's like. And kids are blown away because they have no clue what it takes to be. I want to be a veterinarian. Let's go talk to one. That's a huge social justice piece in my mind. Let's talk about some more social justice needs for our students. Well, I think it starts with meaningful relationships and a positive climate. And again, these are things we constantly work on. It's not perfect every day, but we do have a motto, which is teachers have a right to teach, students have a right to learn. They have a right to teach, students have a right. Anybody gets in the way of that must be dealt with. We say we love our students, which means we have a genuine concern for their well-being. When I first started saying that, people look at me like I was crazy. Oh yeah, no, I love your son, I want him to do well. What did you say? I said, no, I mean I want him or her to do really well. Or else why would I do this job? It's too crazy. And we also believe in high expectations. We achieve, that's what we do. We talk about that a lot. And the last thing is, it's not us against them. It's us for us, really. We talk about aesthetics mattering. They really do. I mean, if you walk into our building, I'm always amazed how clean it is, how shiny it is. It shines the same way in August, it shines the same way in May, after all the kids running through it. I have statues. My first week at school, as assistant principal 4 or 5 years ago now, I said, we can't have statues in the hall. Who's going to knock it down and throw it? Some wise guy's going to break everything. He said, no, it'll be fine. Dr. Henke told me, don't worry about it. They're still there. In fact, up here, there's a big bust of Abraham Lincoln. You can't see it. He's still there, too. A clean, orderly, safe learning environment creates a comfort zone where people can learn more. This is a typical classroom. If you notice, there's artwork. That's actually a wooden fireplace. I don't know how many classrooms have a wooden fireplace. We have a few of them. And notice there's always a seating area. Excuse me. I'm not very good at this thing. Seating area. And we don't have any teacher desks in our school. There's no teacher desks. So you won't walk in a room and see a teacher sitting at a desk. And that's by design. Culture and climate. Ron Berger, great book called The Ethic of Excellence. He's kind of a guru in education, a new wave thinker. He came to our school last year. Here's what he said. I'm awestruck by this place. This is a fancy school in a not so fancy neighborhood serving urban kids. Kids deserve a place like this. This place is inspiring and honors all kids. When I heard that, I was like, wow. Bob, you ran about 10 miles from one morning. Cooperative learning strategies is one of the ways we try to engage relationships with our kids. Every teacher's been trained in that, the Kagan strategies, which talks about engagement and accountability via relationships. With kids on kids, kids to kids, and adult with kids. It's not like the old-fashioned group. You two go over there and sit and work on this. No, there's roles that each person has, groups of 4. It's grouped by ability and skill set, so there's some forethought going into this. We also know this. Anybody who's ever taught here knows that there's always going to be some kid you can't reach. And if you know that and you accept that, and you don't take it personal, then you're more willing to ask for help. And so we try to create in our staff and our admin team is that we use each other and say, you know, what have you tried here that works with him or her? And it's not an embarrassing, it's not an admit to failure. We also talk about being somewhat tough. We're empathetic, we're sympathetic, but we're never pathetic as adults with our kids. And they know when you care. Adults know when you care too. You can't hide that. Reverend Billy Kyles was standing next to Dr. Martin Luther King when he was shot on the Lorraine Motel in 1968, murdered in Memphis, Tennessee, as he was preparing to march for garbage workers. Reverend Kyles came to our school actually to talk to our students. Probably the most, I've never been scared to meet a person in my life until I met Reverend Kyles, because I was in awe. Here's what he said. You can't come to this school, interact with people, and walk through without feeling a sense of togetherness. It's a joy for me to be here with them. How do I try to talk to people? Well, one of the ways of being, I think, socially just is telling people what you're doing, just being honest. So there's a lot of ways nowadays I try to communicate with people. Weekly emails, Twitter, Facebook, student care, YouTube, principal blog, open all parent meetings, open door policy, weekly principal message. And again, that's half of what Bob does as principal. So those are things that you just throw out there. Here's what we're trying to do. You know, and people can catch on or not. We do have 4 cornerstones we talk about: leadership, scholarship, stewardship, citizenship. And really the goal of all this is simply this: give it away and get it back. Give it away, get it back. There's pictures of our kids actually cleaning a rainwater drain. That's our environmental science class doing that. And there's some of our guys repainting Edgewood Children's Home, which we did last summer. Again, Ron Berger is one of my favorite guys. He says the best schools meet the needs of the highest and the lowest level learner at the same time. And we should also put the middle level learner in there, but he didn't say that. So how do we meet the needs of our lowest level learners? We have a team called the 105-degree team. If you walk into Barnes Hospital on Saturday night, who gets the first open room? Probably the gunshot victim, the person really, really sick. But if you got a 99-degree fever, you're going to wait 3 hours at Barnes. If it's 105, you're getting in right away. So how do you measure 105-degree fever in a student? You do it by talking to people and saying, man, who needs help now? Let's meet every 3 weeks. And let's have this team sit around a table and say, okay, who needs help right now? Who's really, and we just throw names out and then we go. We each take a caseload. And that group changes every 3 weeks. Sometimes it's, and we stay with them. We have this huge Google Doc we run through. And it's something that, when I look back at it, boy, what we did in May was really different than what we did in August. We have a whole different crew. We talk about reaching our highest learners through honors options. We're a small school. I don't have the staffing to say we're going to have honors in this class, in this class, in this class. But what we did was we put them inside the normal class. And what we found when we did that was, I think, a socially just thing. We tended to raise everybody else's level. 10 kids in world history said, I'm going to take the honors track and work harder and do more work. The other kids also brought their grades up. So we went from 28% of our students getting a 3.0 to 41% in 1 year. That was 1 year's time. We gave the kids a survey and said, what do you think? Well, here's some of the things they said. That's from the students themselves. This is an interesting image here. We talk about keeping the success and effort balance even in all of our lives. That's a very important thing. If you don't do any work and you have success, you're really having a false image of yourself. And eventually it's going to crash. If you're working super hard and you're having no success, you're going to give up after a while. So as a teacher, you must constantly balance that success and effort balance. And that takes a person who's in touch with the needs of their students. Achievement gap is talked a lot about. We talk about an expectation gap. As a teacher, do you say, oh, that's good enough, hand it in, too soon? Or do you say, you know what, look at that again and do it again? You can do better, I think. We believe in a culture of model student work, showing people, here's what really good work looks like. Telling teachers, okay, every year I want you to save the best, the worst, and some average assignments. And when you give that assignment next year, pass them out and show them everybody. Say, here's what good and average work looks like. As adults, we crave that. We want to know from our boss, am I doing a good job? And I think so. Well, then how do you know you're doing a good job? If people know what's expected of them, they're much more likely to rise up and see it and do that work. We do write in all classes. We talk about literacy being a backbone. Here's our writing schedule for the first semester. You'll notice art, PE, business, science, they're all writing. And we have training for all the teachers, and they're trained by each other. We call open response writing. Again, I'm wrapping up here. Some of the models we try to get on the kids are expected things. Respect everyone, prepare for success. We call that, I actually call it REP. I got them out of order there. And then the thing about success we talk about is, what is success? Success is doing the best with what you got. That's all it is. There's nothing more to it. We make it too complicated sometimes. And it doesn't really look like this. It's, as you know, it looks more like this. Okay? So that's my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.